With the uptick of the tempo in the world, I know for me, the uptick in tempo is in the general tempo of my life. But even more than that, it's the tempo of one synchronicity after another, coupled with because I've worked hard on putting tools in my tool belt to have realizations and the ability to kind of reweave the old stories slash frames, and I'll define that further in a moment, um, one after another, tick, 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 tick. And what I mean by frames is, listen, we all have trauma from our childhoods. I really do believe that. So many of our wounds happen from ages 0 to 7, and some would say even 0 to 3, before you're even really cognitively aware. And yet, these will, unexamined, will help determine the decisions you make throughout your entire life, and unless you really look at them and you look at the beauty of the lesson and you look at the trauma that it inflicted. And then the real task is, once you understand the narrative, the data of the story, the details, how you would tell someone about your childhood, what you're left with is the frame around the data. So when I say data, I mean the actual details and narrative and linear storytelling that you would tell someone else to get an understanding of what happened to you. The frame is what you were born with. It's where all that data hangs inside. And what I want to make very clear is, I think your frame stays with you for better or for worse, because it can become your gifts or it can become your unexamined shadow. However, the data inside the frame, the story you tell, and the way you decide to live your life daily absolutely does not have to stay the same. It absolutely can change. So if you grew up, for me, one of my childhood traumas was being very subtly convinced that I was helpless. And that ran through my marriage, and it arrested me into adolescence because I got stuck between, don't tell me what to do, but also I'm helpless and fix it for me. Some combination, right? Really a good combination in marriage. Definitely going to be successful there. So, um, what comes up for me today is that I have a lot of gratitude that it takes discipline, but you can change the data of the story. The frame remains, but the data can change. You can determine a new direction and a new story any day. And then the way that you do that is that you have to, first of all, you have to physically unearth the energy of the trauma in your body. Or else, if you do not examine that, your body will physically go back to that moment and keep reenacting it. And it can be very subtle. You won't even know it's happening. But if you don't kind of move that energy up and out, it will remain, and it will still remain active. Then the next thing is, you need to make a new neural pathway. You literally have to change the habit of your story. What does that take? Reps. It takes reps every day to tell a new story, to catch yourself in the language that you used to use, to allow yourself to invent a new story. And go ahead, try it on. Try it on. Even if it's not quite embedded and true and a new literal neural pathway in your brain yet. That's how it gets there. I know Joe Dispenza talks about act as if, because your brain doesn't know the difference. So if you live as if you're anxiety free, that you've done the work to discover the root of your anxiety, you've done the work to really process the shadow work that comes along with that anxiety and the stories that reside there. You've done the work to move the energy physically through your body. Now it's time to replace that data, to enhance that frame with a new set of narrative. And so what comes up for me today, I mentioned gratitude, and yes, I am so grateful that I have the awareness that I can literally change my story. Whether it comes from the outside in or the inside out, if you have the desire to change, you have the capability. You just need the tools. And that's part of something that I work on every day. And they start subtle. It starts with being aware. And it starts with being aware that you want to change. Really, that's overall the most important thing. Anything else you can learn. So that's what comes up for me today is this glorious, messy, bloody, beautiful, convoluted, and completely not linear, certainly not for me, journey in this life, in this body. And I urge you to take a moment and to close your eyes and go within and see what you're aware of. What are you aware of? And then, secondly, what do you want to change? Even identifying what you want to change is amazing. That's the question I leave you with today. And I will see you tomorrow.